Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Wednesday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky asking the question, does it matter why Luka Doncic, got himself in such good shape?
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers your first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter how, where you get your podcast. This one's always free, never behind paywall. And Locked On Lakers on YouTube. Andy, as we're over 36,000 subscribers, are all hanging out, talking to each other, talking to us, and getting themselves ready for what everybody hopes will be an even better 2025-26 season, because the atmosphere around the new star for the Lakers is looking great in a lot of ways, both literally, figuratively. There's the expectation that he's going to sign an extension with the Lakers sooner rather than later. The guy has been out recruiting important additions to the team in the form of Marcus Smart. It is impossible, Andy, impossible, I say, to not feel bullish about where the Lakers are with Luka Doncic at this very moment as we roll into August.
All the signs certainly seem to be pointing in the direction that the Lakers want. I mean, the idea that you would be recruiting Marcus Smart to the team, there were some reports that while I believe Bill Duffy was instrumental in getting his client, the agent that he shares with Luka Doncic, DeAndre Ayton, over to the Lakers, there's been some reports that, Luka reached out to Ayton as well. He has seemingly been very outwardly aligning himself with the Lakers. There's a lot of talk about his relationship with the team in the future tense, like not even present, but very, very forward looking. So, while there is no guarantee that Luka is going to sign the extension this weekend, August 2nd is the first day where it can take place, and he just happens to be in LA during that time as one of the legs for this Nike one-on-one event that's gone in New York. That's why Luka was at the Yankee game looking all shredded and slender. It's why he's going to be in Chicago and then eventually in Los Angeles right at the time where he is extension eligible and it is legal for him to sign it. But whether it happens before he goes to Slovenia for Eurobasket, after he comes back from Eurobasket, the overwhelming expectation now is that he is going to sign that extension, if nothing else, before the season begins.
And I don't know how unexpected that is. Like, I think, there's a big difference between it's not signed on August 2nd and he goes into the season without it. Like that.
Well, that's a big deal. That's a big deal.
Like, and there's a lot of space in there. There's like all of August, all of September, and even into a lot of October.
Well, the September piece of it could just be if he decides I don't want to sign this for whatever reason until I'm done with Eurobasket. And, Tim McMahon and Brian Windhorst from ESPN have noted a few times that in the past, Luka has said, I don't want to handle NBA business until my Eurobasket business is done. And depending on how Slovenia does, that can stretch into, mid or even late September if the team does well. Just to clarify to people.
Sure, of course. But what I was getting at is there is a lot of space there. There's a lot of reasons he might sign later. So, but just every day you kind of get closer to where it isn't done, it becomes a little bit more of a thing, a little bit more of a talking point. And if by chance, even if there was nothing really bad happening, no real tension between Luka and the front office, whatever it might be, even if none of that was really going on, if you start rolling into September, October, we're 2 weeks from training camp. Why isn't Luka signed? We're a week from training camp. Why isn't Luka signed? It becomes this sort of self-perpetuating talking point where you're looking for things that are wrong. And obviously, instead, what we have is the polar opposite of that situation, to where it appears that it will be put to bed pretty quickly. It certainly appears that Luka is actively working to get, to make this supporting cast as good as it can possibly be, working with the Lakers, to do that. And it's going as well as it could. And you and I have spoken a lot about kind of what the offseason has looked like, given what the Lakers have had to work with. And have they had the best offseason in the Western Conference? No, I don't think they have. I think you could say, I think they've fallen a little bit behind Denver, relatively speaking. I think they've fallen a little further behind Houston, at least as a regular season team. We'll see what Houston's like in the postseason. So, but have they done about as well as you could expect given what they had? Because they didn't have the stuff to acquire a player on the level of Kevin Durant like Houston did. They didn't have the money to do it. They didn't have any, so you can only work with what you got. And the Lakers have done pretty well with what they had available.
Yeah, and really at the end of the day, the biggest success of this offseason, what will ultimately determine whether or not the Lakers did well in the summer or not, will be the extension with Luka. And like you said, all the signs are pointing towards that, including the commitment that Luka has clearly shown in the new era of Skinny Luka. And really, truly looking like a different person. In the most literal sense, my daughter and wife, when I showed them the cover of Men's Health with Luka, it took them a second to actually recognize Luka because he looks so different. And this has prompted the question of how this happened, the impetus for it. And Dan Wojcicki, now with The Athletic, friend of the show, great coverage of the Lakers for years, in a piece that he wrote about the Skinny Luka era, said, quote, "Some sources in Doncic's inner circle believed he was on the path towards this type of physical transformation, whether or not Dallas general manager Nico Harrison had bet against him. The belief among Doncic's team was to some degree that he had matured as an NBA player. He'd adopt some better habits and completely buy into a stricter strength and conditioning program instead of the more competition-driven approach he had been comfortable with, but improvement isn't always linear. Doncic had suffered a number of physical setbacks in 2024 that certainly made it easier for the Mavericks to explore options other than handing him a blank check mega extension." So there are people in Luka's camp putting out the idea that, no, don't give all the credit to Nico Harrison, or like the backhanded credit, yes, Luka came to Jesus, but it is only because Nico pushed him towards rock bottom. And had Nico not have done this, Luka would have never come around. Their camp is saying that's not the case. The overwhelming majority of reaction that I have seen or conversation about this seems skeptical that this would have happened without the proverbial kick in the ass that happened to send Luka in the direction out the door.
Yeah, I think it is naive to assume that had nothing to do with it, that this would have happened in exactly the same way, in exactly the same fashion, with exactly the same motivation. I think it is naive to say that we would have reached this same place where trade doesn't happen, Dallas loses in the first round, whatever it is, and he still finds himself on the cover of Men's Health. But there's enough space in there. And this was, again, the sourcing of the Men's Health story was clearly Camp Luka. Nico Harrison was either not available for comment or chose not to, wisely. But, so where that side of the story is coming from. But I just think there is space to say some of this was built around the natural progression of a player who's extremely competitive, who's reaching a point in his career where a lot of players start to take fitness more seriously, start to take diet more seriously. Even guys like Kobe Bryant. LeBron is sort of an exception, has always been sort of famously fastidious about taking care of himself physically. But yeah, but Kobe, he told you his diet wasn't good until
it was straight up crap.
Right.
His diet for the
first he worked out.
Years.
He was a workout fiend and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But his diet, he didn't work. He didn't pay attention to his diet until a few years into the league, at least. And so Dirk Nowitzki, said recently he needed 8 years. Like a bunch of guys go through.
Kyle Lowry famously took a long. Kyle Lowry spent a lot of his career. Among other issues people had with him was that he was pretty chunky.
Yep.
And, James Harden has up and down dealt with that stuff. It is not uncommon. And Jokic has had to go through some conditioning issues a
little bit. And guys like Jokic and Luka, who, even now, like he's looking lean, all that kind of stuff. He's not yoked out like the Andrew Wiggins meme, from a couple of years ago. He just looks really good. Certain guys, Nikola Jokic isn't as good a physical shape as 98.9% of the league, as it turns out. Just never looks like he is.
No, but the first few years of
I'm not
career,
we'll talk about this after the break. My point is, certain guys. All I'm saying there is, I'm not disagreeing with your point. I'm just like, certain guys don't yoke out. They look like they're softer. They look like, even when they're in excellent shape. Some of it just depends on your body type, but. After the break, like we'll get into more of this question of where it's coming from and how much maybe the Mavs accelerated something that might have happened to some degree. Anyway, that's next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by Monarch Money. Have you ever wished that managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can be. Whether you are growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than just some budgeting app. It is a complete financial center, and you can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. Like as an example, my daughter is about to start high school, which means I already have to start thinking about college and tuition and dorm expenses. And that all is really daunting stuff. Monarch Money can help me streamline my spending, figure out areas where I can be more efficient, save better, don't spend at all, and create a plan for the next step. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for 50% off your first year.
Before we get back to Luka, I meant to bring this up yesterday for Tuesday's show. There is at least some chatter that the next guy on the buyout market, if not now, over the course of the season, could be Nikola Vučević, the Chicago Bulls center, who is not a guy I have a ton of interest in, certainly not at his salary level. I mean, he's not he's not a good defender.
Hell no.
But if suddenly he appears on the buyout market, I think the interest in him would be tremendous, including from a team like the Lakers, because he's very skilled and can do a lot of interesting stuff for your offense. And a center combination of Ayton with Vučević would provide JJ Redick with tremendous amounts of flexibility. Now, a ton of things would have to happen, but what I find, and none of it seems to be happening anytime soon. What I find interesting about this, though, Andy, is this idea that the Lakers could end up in a situation where, I don't know, 40% of their rotation, 30%, 35%, whatever it is, could be built entirely around the buyout market. And I just wonder, this feels to me to be like one of these weird blips in NBA CBA history. You remember a few years ago when the cap jumped, like they wouldn't do the smoothing thing, and all of a sudden, like you get these weird moments in CBA history that have an effect on certain teams. Like we're going to look back on this potentially as a year where the Lakers got bailed out in a lot of ways because the rules changed. Suddenly it was advantageous to sort of start buying a lot of people out that might not have been bought out before. And the Lakers have at least two, could add a third, if not now, later, player through this market that they never would have had access to without, at the very least, giving up a lot of players. This is an interesting, quirky time in NBA history. It's just worth pointing out. You'd be on board with Vučević at like a buyout, though, wouldn't you?
It depends on how they got him. I would be in favor of, say, waiving and stretching Maxi Kleber, because then you're only talking about maybe $3-ish million of dead money over the next couple seasons. Like, it's, to be clear, it's not perfect. I mean, even acknowledging in the new cap and stuff like that, like $3 million is not a lot of money. We've seen at times it can make a difference. What I wouldn't do, even for someone like Vučević, at least I don't think, I would not attach a first to offload Maxi Kleber or, Gabe or whoever.
Right. Or you finally are able to make the much ballyhooed consolidation trade to open up.
Or I would not.
That. Yeah.
Because I think it is. I heard the Lakers film room guys, Darius and Pete, talking about this, and they both acknowledged, by the way, they were doing some of this cap math off the top of their heads, so they may not have had it exact, but you could theoretically trade Dalton essentially for nothing to create the space, so you could bring in, the roster space and the cap space, so you could bring in Vučević on a minimum. Because right now the Lakers do not have the cap space. Forget the roster space. They don't have the cap space to sign even a minimum guy.
They're like $1 million below the apron or something.
Right.
Like that.
And I would not just give away Dalton for a Nikola Vučević rental. I would not do that.
You assume it's a rental. Anyway, it's just something interesting to think about. This is not, by as far as anything I've seen, read, heard, anything that is going to happen anytime soon. It's just one of these weird moments in NBA history. All of a sudden, tons of interesting players have become available. Bradley Beal and a lot of guys. Like, the next season is going to be shaped in a lot of ways by expensive players who are way too expensive for their production, and now being incredible bargains for good teams around the league. But anyway, back to Luka. I think the truth is somewhere in between. I don't think there's any question that what happened in Dallas if there is something that was going on with Luka, and it seems to have started not last offseason, but the offseason before, it was 100% accelerated, not just by what Nico did to him and the way Dallas traded him, but I think the end to last season, Luka coming off the playoffs were not him. He wasn't necessarily the problem for the Lakers, but he was out in the first round. It was not a good season by his standards, especially in terms of availability. And then the year before that, even in the finals, he took a lot of flack for being the guy that was attacked on defense, attacked. That was the problem and all that stuff. That offseason, coming off the finals, he didn't get an offseason. He didn't get a chance to get into shape. He did. So, we'll never know exactly what could have happened last offseason if Luka was able to train, able to rehabilitate and do all that stuff in the way that he's been able to do it this offseason. But that said, I mean, if there was a process going on, Andy, it was at the least accelerated by the Dallas trade. There's just no way around it.
Sure. But here's the thing. As much as the Skinny Luka origin story, so to speak, is really juicy to suss out, and it's fun to throw around the conspiracy theories of it and try to figure out the exacts, even though there's no way to truly prove a negative in a lot of ways. Like, there's no Earth 2 version where Luka stays in Dallas and he either does this stuff or not. To me, in a lot of ways, I don't care. Like, I actually don't think it matters. What matters is this Luka moving forward? I don't even necessarily mean the leanest, most shredded version of himself. Like, I know Luka's had other off seasons where he's gotten himself into shape, but I have to say, and I will acknowledge, I have not paid as close of attention to this as, say, the guys over at Locked On Mavs or Tim McMahon or Mark Stein, people who've covered the team, but certainly been aware of Luka throughout his NBA career. This is as good as I ever remember him looking, and frankly, better than I ever remember him looking. Is this Luka moving forward? Like, that's what actually matters. Like the origin story, again, that's the most fun stuff to talk about. But the thing that really matters is just, is Luka committed to this being kind of a baseline for him, or this being the thing that he wants to try to maintain as much as possible? That's what truly matters.
And even then, it's not just the specifics of, is he 200 and whatever pounds he's going to play it, or 5 pounds more. Like, it's going to look different year to year. He might say, he might have a year where he says, you know what, lost a little too much, functional strength here, or just raw strength here. I need to put a little more weight on, or I need to, it's not necessarily going to look exactly the same where like he comes in 8 pounds, 5 pounds heavier one year than the last, that it means he doesn't care. What matters is, have you developed the interest and the discipline to do what is necessary for you physically in the moment? Because this stuff is hard. Probably the most remarkable thing, we can carry this on after the break. One of the most remarkable things about LeBron, beyond the talent, is just the willingness to do this for 20 something years.
And I want to make sure we get into LeBron, because he's back in the lab.
Right. But 20 something years of doing this after you are, at least for X percentage of the basketball observing public, the greatest player who ever lived. You are a multiple times MVP, a multiple times champion, all this stuff, to still go through and do the work that it takes to be in NBA physical condition. Because I can tell you, Andy, I'd have given it up a decade ago in his situation,
especially as a billionaire. Hell yeah,
too much. And you've got interests. He's not one of these dudes, who is just going to run out of stuff to do after he's done playing. He's got interests, got business, he's got this, that, whatever. You got to stay in it and do it and do the work. And if Luka has that level of discipline to year stay committed to whatever it is, the thing that my team says that I need to be doing to play at that level, that's what I'm really interested in seeing. So we'll get more into that. We'll get into Bronny in a second, because great story from Dave McMenamin at ESPN about Bronny and his development and development in general, how the Lakers approach these things. I do want to remind people that today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. So more on Luka, more on Bronny next. You wanted to mention LeBron in the lab?
Yes, he is. He posted a couple Instagram videos, one that denoted it was before 5 a.m. and he was on the way to the gym. Then another video that actually showed him working out. I don't have the actual video, but some stills of him looking good. Also, a lot of people commenting, looking pretty lean himself. Like,
I can't tell. I mean, honestly, he's looked like this for so long. Is he, could he have bulked? What's the opposite of that? Trimmed down, bulking, like taking off a little bit of
leaned out
upper body. I don't think his body fat is any lower, because he didn't have any.
It might be down to -5 now.
Right. It's for LeBron, it's more a question of whether or not he's just taken a little bit of muscle mass off, which would make sense. First of all, he's got ridiculous strength anyway, and now it's combined with old man strength, old man at the YMCA strength. And then at his age, especially coming off a knee injury, whatever it might be, just a little bit less weight, a little bit more flexibility, maybe that helped. But I can't tell. He looks pretty similar to me.
He looked good in the workout, which also matters just because he had the injury during the playoffs that, had the Lakers won game 5, it would have been very difficult, if not impossible, for LeBron to keep participating in those playoffs.
I think he so much as said he was out. Like that would have been the last.
Right.
The Lakers had advanced. He wasn't going to play anymore. He was done.
But he looks good in these videos. And beyond the fact that he looks good, I do think it is a reminder that we've talked about a lot during this offseason with all of the reports of tension between LeBron and the Lakers and the passive-aggressive statements from, social media posts from LeBron, or the comment from Rich Paul, the statement upon opting in, other stuff, including most recently Nikola Jokic's agent, of all people, posting a photo of LeBron, Maverick Carter, and himself on a yacht with other folks. It looks incredible wherever the hell they are.
Can we all stop for a minute? Like, as our friend Domino Angulo pointed this out, and when Magic dropped another clip of him on a yacht, that yacht that he's always on, like certain guys, it's one thing to be rich, but like certain guys don't seem like they understand how to really enjoy being rich. And I respect people who are still decent human beings, but who very clearly like, you know what, I've got all this money and I've got all this stuff. I'm going to make sure I enjoy.
Sure.
And this, whether it's Magic shooting hoops on a 7 gajillion foot yacht, or LeBron chillaxing in some sort of bay somewhere on a beautiful boat, like good for these guys. Like, enjoy.
But the post from Nikola Jokic's agent, Misko Raznatovic, says, quote, "The summer of 2025 is the perfect time to make big plans for the fall of 2026, which naturally led to everybody speculating, LeBron to Denver confirmed, whatever." And even though LeBron did not post this, I'm sure he gave permission for both the picture and the caption. And as we've talked about many times, he knows damn well how people are going to talk about it.
Even if he didn't, he doesn't care.
Well, no, he knows, and he does care.
But I'm saying, even if he didn't give explicit permission,
I don't think the post would happen without explicit permission. You don't
maybe not.
You don't post that picture with that caption without permission. You don't do that. Come on. Don't be an idiot. That does not happen without permission. But my point is, even with all of that stuff, this video is a reminder that, as we've said many times, once the basketball actually starts up, training camp in September, or preseason, yada, 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 neither one of us is expecting any drama, because LeBron is a pro. LeBron is not a bleep disturber in terms of once the basketball begins. He's not going to try to submarine the season in order to get himself out of LA or anything like that. He's not wired like that. The only way there would be
this many years into his career, don't want to be the bad guy.
Right. And the only way there would be drama would be if the season isn't going well. But that would be the case even if LeBron had already publicly declared, I'm retiring as a Laker no matter what. Like, because if the Lakers aren't doing well, that's drama. But it's going to be fine.
And the point I was really making with, like, this, not to get the rabbit hole of permission, is like this stuff is the same every year. And so, LeBron, whether he gives the blessing like the Pope on these types of things or not, he knows what the reactions are, and he kind of likes it. I think he finds it fun. I think he enjoys doing the thing where he encourages speculation and then tuts people for speculating. This has been a cycle that's been going on for 2 decades now, basically, or at least a decade and a half since taking my talents to Miami.
Basically for however long social media has been around.
Right. It's like, this is sort of LeBron. Like, he works out, he takes care of his body. Like, nobody out there, like the watching these videos, it's entirely in the context of, is he moving well? Is he doing things? Because everybody knows LeBron's not letting himself go physically. It's just, how's he moving? Looks good. This is sort of his off-season pastime. It's hanging out with your family and working out, traveling, drinking some wine, whatever it might be. This is how he passes the time. And I agree with you. The idea that LeBron in year 23 is going to put on the black hat again, which a role that did not suit him in the slightest in Miami. That's really the last time he tried it, was after, the TV show. It didn't fit. He's not doing it now. So it's just, it's going to be fine. The speculation about his future in LA, Mark Stein wrote about it. A lot of people, we've talked about it. Other people have too. That's going to be there, but there's a difference between the off season of 2026 and the preseason of 2025 and the season of 20 that. Nothing's going to happen. Nothing. It's going to be fine. He's going to go into the season skinny LeBron with skinny Luka, hopefully skinny Marcus Smart, and yoked out Austin Reeves. Jackson Hayes shouldn't get any skinnier. He's very skinny as it already is. And we're all going to be in for it. And hopefully the Lakers can surprise a little bit. But LeBron is not. All the speculation should be about when his career in LA is going to end, not is it going to end before this season starts. 100% agree with you.
I would be extremely surprised do I think there is actually some degree of tension between LeBron and the Lakers? Yes, because there have been signs of it. And you and I have both heard that off and on pretty regularly for
a few
LeBron's
years.
time with the Lakers. And you know what? This stuff is not unusual. We covered the last 10 years of Kobe's career. We were in the middle of it when he demanded a trade. We were in the middle of it when the Lakers hired Mike Brown instead of Brian Shaw, Kobe's very outward first choice. And Kobe didn't even know about it until he saw it on SportsCenter. There were plenty of periods of tension between Kobe and the Lakers as well. This stuff isn't that unusual. Think about your own jobs and how often there is tension between bosses and different employees of different levels. The difference is your job isn't public. This job is highly public. And you're talking about super, super wealthy, talented, influential people. But this stuff is pretty normal. I'm not saying it can never turn ugly or turn bad or problematic. Clearly it can. We've seen countless examples of things going bad between athlete and team, but just the presence of tension doesn't mean automatically things are going to go sideways.
Because you have to game these things out, because LeBron certainly has. If he really wanted to go, if it was really important for him to do that this year, he had an opportunity to do it, and he would have. And then the Lakers really have done better than I think most people could have expected. This has been as good of an offseason as we, kind of close where we opened. They've added, without losing any rotation players, any of their draft capital, any of their trade ammunition that they go into the season with. We'll talk about the roster ad nauseum before the season starts. But without losing any of those things, they added DeAndre Ayton, they added Jake LaRavia, they added Marcus Smart, and what am I forgetting?
Tiero. They traded up to get him.
Traded up to get a second-round pick. All these but those are 3 rotation players that they've gained without losing a thing, and that is well beyond what.
And it doesn't seem like there were any opportunity costs. It doesn't seem like they passed up something that could have been more impactful because they were hanging on to the first or hanging on to Dalton, Rui, whatever. It doesn't feel like they missed out on it.
No, but even if there was an individual player there, you have to factor all that stuff in. Would that trade, that signing, that whatever been better than, you lose DFS, but I think they filled that hole pretty well. Anyway, we didn't get to the Bronny story. Dave McMenamin wrote that is a great, tons of great insight into Bronny, but also an interesting way to look at player development with the Lakers generally. So we'll get into that tomorrow. And leave us questions, leave us comments. Great time for mailbags with the offseason rolling along. Get you ready for Eurobasket. So Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you're going to hang out with over 36,000 subscribers. Don't forget the audio portion of the show on Apple and on Spotify. See everyone tomorrow.